about just fitting into different styles. What do you play? Drums. What does it mean to fit in?
Well, something that'll work with whatever instrument you're doing.
I like it. It's an interesting question. I like it because it goes right along with the thing that I wanted to talk about today. Okay, fitting into other styles. Does anybody else have that same question? Play violin. Does anyone else care about fitting into other styles?
Well, of course.
Okay.
I think it's kind of a general concern for a musician who wants to work and play for part of his living at least. I mean,
all right. What are the different styles in question?
Well,
Do you want to play Afghani music?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, but I was thinking more like when you get Latin music, that's a very broad term. And so some people want something really specific. Some people just like it can sound sort of Latin-y, something like that.
And so the question about how to fit in is about what degree of Latin-y you should be.
Possibly.
Okay.
For me, it's kind of just more like how to make it sound like a conversation rather than just people saying sentences. You know what I mean? Like we are giving attention, and I understand that it's all about listening, but I think you guys know what I'm getting at, right? Like to make it really feel like it's one unit, rather than sometimes you go up with new people and it just feels like we're all playing great and it works, but we're just all saying our own thing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because what if your job is to record on a pop album and you've got a part to play? It's not about communicating with other people. It's about doing your job right. All right? So it depends on what style. Depends on what you're fitting into. But I think that my question about what are the styles is still interesting to me. We have Latin music. What are the other styles we want to fit into? Like those of you who raised your hand and said, I want to fit into other styles. What are they?
I think funk is a good one to be
Okay.
be usable. See what. I guess within the Latin thing, there's some variations in there. You've got your Afro-Cuban, you've got your Brazilian, you've even got Spanish. So
And
there's
even
going to be
saying
different.
Afro-Cuban is too.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm talking about, but yeah. Well, I guess.
Well, I kind of know what you're talking about, but what if I don't?
Okay, so like
what if I don't know
your
what you're
2/3 and
talking
3/2 clave based stuff, your rumba clave based stuff.
So already, before we even start, we haven't even left Latin music yet.
Yeah.
And there's you named 6 styles. You named one style called more and less Latin. And like, I said Afghani music. There's about 3 billion styles of music. And within each style, there's 50 styles of music. So my answer to your question is, you cannot. You can't fit into every style. It's not going to happen. Every single person that we know that we like plays a style. That it's not even a style. It's that person. Thelonious Monk, he doesn't play a style of music. He doesn't play bebop. He plays Thelonious Monk. And that's it. Now I understand too that some of us want to be working musicians, that you are going to have to play a funk tune, a jazz tune, and a bossa nova. That's true. So I'm going to address that part next. But the first thing that, when I hear a question like that, the first thing that I think is you can't do it. because there's somebody else who was born in Cuba.
I guess what I'm asking is just your approach to, okay, if you're playing Caravan or you're playing this, what's your approach?
My approach is out. And what it means is that, and when I said it goes along with what I want to talk about today, it comes down to time. It comes down to how you feel time within the context of any song. So 4/4 is going by. Every single song in every culture around the world that is time-based has those, let's just say it's 4 beats for the sake of argument. We know it's not always 4 beats. Sometimes it's 16 or 15. But there's 4 beats, and they're going to come at this interval. If you show people what that interval is, if you show people where 1, 2, 3, and 4 is, you've just gone a really long way to fitting in. So my approach is, because I know I don't know anything about any kind of music. I've been studying what we call jazz for as long as I can remember in my life, and I don't understand much about it. And I've been studying it hard, like maybe even harder than most of you guys, because I like it so much. I'm not saying you don't, I'm just saying I do. And what I've come to is that I don't know very much about it, and even about playing time. I'm a drummer, and I don't really even know what I'm supposed to do, really, on a lot of music that I play. Sometimes I get into a groove and I feel like I kind of know, but most of the time I don't feel like I really know. So if I'm playing with some people from Cuba, it's like, forget it. I don't have a clue. And that goes for the Dominican Republic and Brazil too. So, I mean, I know some things, but probably about the same as you. You know, and you maybe know more. So, my approach is the same as I think Monk's approach would be, or Duke Ellington's approach would be, or Miles Davis's approach would be. It would be, do what you do with great time. Because the only thing that really screws you up is the time. So, because if I'm, let's say we're playing Afghani music, and the song goes boom, boom, and that's the feel. I may not know what that rhythm is, or what it's supposed to be, but what I know is that there's these beats. And I feel that the same way as an African feels it. I feel it the same way as a Brazilian feels it, the same way as you feel it. And it's, I mean, maybe not the same way, but what I mean is at the same tempo. Okay? So, if I'm there in Afghanistan and they start playing music, I'm going to go like that. And then, what's the next thing I'm going to do?
Not sure.
Maybe. What do you think the next thing I'm going to do is?
You're going to play yourself, play your style, your own, what you do.
Yeah. It's true. I would. What do you think?
I mean, outside of playing, you know, what you already know, I think you're probably going to find something in your vocabulary that it will match up to some of the rhythm that you're feeling from the other source, so you become a support for that.
I love your answer. I'm going to listen to what other people are doing, because I don't know what to do. I'm going to listen to what the other people are doing. So I'm going to keep time. I'm going to keep really good time. And then I'm going to listen to what the other people are doing, and if I play one other thing that sounds cool to me, I'm going to keep doing it. If I play another thing that doesn't sound cool to me, or like 45 Afghans turn to me and go, then I'm going to stop. And I'm going to go back to doing this, because I know that works. So I think where we get hung up in our music is that we think we're supposed to do something. We've been told you're supposed to go spang, spang, a dang, dang, a dang, dang, a dang, dang, a dang. And if you do that, you're playing jazz. And if you don't do that, you're not playing jazz. If you go doom, doom, ka, doom, boom, boom, ka, you're playing rock and roll. And if you don't do that, you're not playing rock and roll. You guys ever heard the Beatles? Like, there's a crazy guy who can't even play the drums very well, who invented about 75 different ways to play rock and roll that didn't sound like that. And yet, if you play rock and roll and you're on a gig and they say, we're going to play a rock and roll song now, you'll do that. And you'll say, I'm doing it right. I'm fitting in. When in fact, you're just making most people fall asleep. Because that groove, you know, it might not make people fall asleep. It might make them dance. But anyway, the point is that that groove is very standard, very stock. So you can do that, think you're doing the right thing, and not hear anybody. Not know that you're playing with other people, you're just doing your job. Because the thought process is, I'm supposed to do the thing that makes it sound like rock and roll. So I want to discourage that kind of thought. I want to say, don't ever think about playing a style. Think about playing what sounds good to you. Now, assuming we've all heard some music in this style, we already have an idea of what might sound good. There's already some sense that you know what to do. And then you can do that, because if you hear it and you think it sounds good, you should do it. The thing is, when I tell my story the way I just told it, with the Afghani music story, it was really obvious when I said, I'm just going to listen to what's going on and then do something else that sounds cool. It's really obvious. We can all say, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But as soon as you say, okay, let's play Cantaloupe Island, everybody knows what to do already. Or they think they do. And so everybody just starts doing that thing that they think they're supposed to do. And we call that improvisational music. I don't think it's very improvisational like that. I think it's much nicer to pretend like you're in Afghanistan and just play something that's really, really in time, that makes people excited in that kind of way. It makes people excited in a way that, you know, it's like, if I'm sitting there and someone does that at me, I'm going to go, what are you doing? Why are you doing that at me? I'm going to be intrigued. I'm going to be engaged. If someone just starts doing something normal, I'm not engaged anymore. Or if they do something normal without, because maybe hitting your leg is kind of normal around here. I do it a lot, so it seems normal to me. But I can hit my leg like this, and my time is good, just like yours. You're Nick.
Yes, Nick.
And everything's cool. My time is good. But it's a different time feel than this. And now, I don't even have to make the face. I can just go And you guys are going, isn't his leg hurting? You know, that's like, and the answer is yes. My leg is hurting. But there's okay, it's louder, but there's an intensity in that time field that wasn't in the other time field. If I'm playing in a different genre of music, I always want the intensity in the second time field, not the one in the first. So what happens to us is we are afraid because we're supposed to play something in a certain style and we don't know how. And so the first thing we do is think of exactly the wrong thing. We think about what we're supposed to play to make it sound like that style. And that's the exact wrong thing to think. The right thing to think is, how can I play a death time feel so that when I hit each note, somebody is wondering what I'm doing. Someone's going, man, that guy's hurting his leg. Or, that feels good. Or, that's interesting or intense, or it makes me want to dance, or whatever. That's all you're really after. All the other things that come with style are going to come as you learn, as they become interesting to you. It's really easy to find out what those things are. There's records right there, and books everywhere, and anyway, a bunch of people around here that can tell you exactly what notes you should play in what order if you want to play a rock groove or you want to play a merengue. And then it's just up to you to memorize the ones that are interesting to you and totally blow off the ones that aren't. Because there's how many musics and genres in the world? Too many for us to name. Definitely too many for us to learn. And like I said, I've been trying to learn one basically for how old? For 39 years. I've been trying to learn one, and I don't really have it down yet. So, you know, it's like I'm gathering a little bit of information from here, a little bit of information from there, and I add it in when I can. And I've been doing that for all those years. So underneath it all should be a great time feel that you put it on top of. I like your question. Yeah.
Now, how do you get that great time feel?
That's another really good question, because that's what I came here to talk about. Does anybody else have questions about things that they're not going to learn while they're here? Yes?
How do I be a good person?
Thanks.
I like that question too. I'm probably not the right person to answer it. But I can tell you what I think, but I'm not going to do it right this second. Maybe we'll find it in our discussion of time.
I'm
Yeah.
not convinced that I would hire a drummer who has a great jazz time feel for a Latin gig ever. I mean, that's, as a band, like a Latin band leader, I lead Latin bands and jazz bands, and it's the hardest thing to get drummers who can play Latin and you know, a reasonably accurate Latin feel. And there's only a couple in town. I think that's a huge blind spot for drummers who don't spend enough time. And you can't go to a jazz drum teacher. You got to go find someone who really knows that style. And if you want Latin band leaders to call you for gigs, you've got to do more than have a good time feel. You've got to be able to play that style, that vocabulary. You work the claves, and you know, and that's different for Afro-Cuban, and Brazilian is a whole nother bag. It's another complete thing.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's one thing that's a kind of pet peeve. I wish that, you know, I wish that you played a better Afro-Cuban style. I could hire you for more gigs,
No.
but I've got to hire you know, Reinhardt, and then the jazz stuff doesn't feel as good. And then maybe
I know. It's a pet peeve of yours and yours, but it's not one of mine.
Right.
I'm happy you don't call me for Afro-Cuban because I would sound dumb. And the real reason is, and even, you know, you probably, well, I mean, we can get into this later too, you and I, but the understanding the difficulty in doing that and why it doesn't happen is really weird. You know, it's a really long, complicated story. And that's why I said like 5 times that I've been after one style for my whole life. And I still don't get it. And, you know, Reinhardt, who's a great player, great drummer, he's been after another style for most of his life. And he probably doesn't feel like he's got it totally together. But he called me on the phone a little while ago and said, man, would you play this gig